It's time to celebrate. We've reached a milestone here on Gimme the Hot Sauce. We are celebrating our 100th episode, and it's been an interesting journey along the way. Stacey King, Timmy Whispers alongside. And Stacey, remember we talked about this a few years ago. You said you'd like to start a podcast, and the question was, when was the timing going to work? And then during the height of the pandemic, we thought, well, maybe it's time. And back in the start, want to thank our buddy Aldo Gandia. We were in his basement doing a couple of shows, and then it's really grown from there.
I tell you what, I mean, when we first started, we didn't have all the right equipment.
Right.
We had the gold microphones and looked like a bunch of pimps. But it was the effort that counted. We got the sound right. That's why we tell people who want to start a podcast, like, hey, listen, there's going to be some frustrations. There's going to be some ups and downs. Just stay the course. As long as the material is good and you're with a bunch of friends like we are, we'll be able to power through, which we did. And I don't think anybody thought we'd get to 100 episodes. I mean, that's a lot of episodes. I mean, you see Joe Rogan, all these guys, 1,000 episodes.
Sure.
I don't give a damn, okay? We got 100, okay? There's a lot of podcasts out there that didn't get 100. We got to 100, so that's an awesome feat.
I was looking at some of the clips from the past shows, and what you said about those gold pimp microphones, That's exactly right, because when you saw the shot of us, you saw the big gold thing around it. It's like, what are we doing? Is this Night at the Apollo or something?
I thought they were nice.
We gave
picked those out.
Listen,
all right, sorry about that, Tim.
Yeah, we let Timmy Whispers pick out the microphones, and I was just missing that that big cup that the Snoop Doggy Dogg always drinks out of. That's the only thing we're missing because the mic was there. So, but you know what? At the end of the day, man, we've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of great guests on this show, and again, the people who download this, the people who tune in weekly, it's because of you and your interest in the show that we were able to get 100 shows in, and hopefully we'll get to 1,000.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody who's followed us along the journey from our humble beginnings, as I mentioned, in Aldo's basement, through some of the times when we were trying to figure out our audio. And, now we've got great first-class audio. We've got a great production team. We want to thank those guys. And our producer, Maddie, who does such a great job. And it's been a lot of fun seeing this show grow the way it has. And we're looking forward to bigger and better things. We've got some things on the horizon that are going to come up that's going to take the show to a whole new level. So we're excited about that. We want to thank everybody who's started to follow us on the Twitch stream. Nick Bianchi says, congrats, Mark, Stacey, and Timmy. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody who's followed us any step of the way. And Tim is here. He was supposed to be jetting off to his new home in Fort Myers, Florida tomorrow. And Tim, my heart goes out to you and all the folks down in Florida who are this devastating hurricane right now.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to my pet alligator when I finally get down there. That's now in my kitchen.
And you said you just closed on this house 3 weeks ago?
Just 3 weeks ago. Signed the insurance papers about 9 days ago.
Well, thank goodness you got the insurance in place.
Yeah.
And you said this place was built like 5 years ago, but it's no one's ever lived in there.
No.
So now the alligators and the sharks
there's finally some
swimming.
Residents.
So you've got the fish in the front. Now you're going to have live alligators and sharks in your new home in Fort Myers.
Thanks, Mark. You're making me feel a lot better.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because one of the reasons, because I'm also looking at getting property in Fort Myers, and one of the reasons why was because they don't have a lot of hurricanes down there.
They normally don't.
And so today, when you showed me that video, Mark, I was like, oh, man, thank God I didn't buy anything. And then I find out Tim bought something. I'm like, oh, only whispers.
It's all about the timing.
Timing. Just like whispers. Just like whispers.
So how's your wife holding up through this? That's a very, very stressful thing for a family to have to go through.
Well, she was saying, let's still go down on Saturday, check stuff. I'm like, there's going to be no power. There's going to be alligators and trees in the streets. There'll be no groceries.
Sharks.
Yeah, sharks swimming around. Yeah, you saw that video, Mark.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's very scary down there, and we hope that the worst of it is going to be over, and your home is still going to be standing when you get down there.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim still got the 2 kegs going in the front, so I think
that's helping at the moment.
Have to drink these sorrows down. I'll tell you what. But this is supposed to be a celebratory episode. Our heart does go out to all the folks down in Florida. Hope that the damage is not too severe in the area where you live. And we want to take you through some of the clips that we've had from past shows, some of the great guests we've had. And in about 15, 20 minutes, Will Perdue is going to join us to talk about the start of Bulls training camp and what we can expect from this year's team. we've had a lot of fun talking to a lot of Stacey's old teammates. I remember the episode with B.J. Armstrong where you guys were laughing about trying to boost Jerry Krause over the fence. You guys were laughing so hard that none of us could talk because it was so funny, and that's what this show's all about.
Hey, listen, I mean that's what it's all about, Mark. Is having fun, telling good stories, bringing on guys who have stories to tell. And me and BJ came up together. So he's my son's godfather. I'm his son's godfather. So that tells you how close we are. Being able to have guys like Craig Hodges come on, the Grant brothers, who I play with, both those guys. Scott Williams has come on. Bobby Hansen. I mean, what
was the name of the girl that you met in the bar?
Oh, the Tiny Avenger. The Tiny Avenger. If you haven't seen that episode, America.
Yeah, check it out. Tank Williams.
It's off the In Living Color. So you can go on YouTube and find In Living Color Handyman. That was the name of the skit, Handyman. And he had a lot of little people helping him, and Tiny Avenger was one of them. And I'll let you hear the rest of the episode.
I saw Pax at the media day on Monday, and he was he wanted to pass along some congratulations. He was a guest as well from his home in Florida, it was great to talk to Pax and then let him talk about some things beyond trying to build a team in Chicago over the last 20 years when he was head of basketball operations. And one of our other guests, DeMar DeRozan, and he was a great guest for us. I think we had him back on in December or January. It was right around the time when he hit the 2 straight game-winning three-point shots, which was amazing. And, we're not pretending to be hard-hitting journalists here, but I asked him a question that I was kind of reluctant because, I noticed in watching the games that when he comes into the game or he goes to the free throw line, he kisses both wrists. So I asked him, why do you do that? And I thought he might bite my head off, but this is what the answer we got. Speaking of, mannerisms and things that you pick up from other guys, I might be reading this wrong, but when you come back on the court after a timeout, are you kissing both wrists, or am I seeing that wrong? Is there some meaning behind that?
Yeah, I kissed my daughter's name.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about it. I knew there had to be a story there.
Nobody never asked me that. Yeah.
Really? No one's ever asked you that?
Yeah, I kissed my mom's name and my daughter's name.
Well, it means a lot more now.
Yes, it does. Because
I thought maybe you were saying, okay, left wrist, you got to help me because right wrist isn't doing the job.
No, that's crazy. Nobody never asked me that. Yeah, I kissed my mom's name and my kid's name.
That's great.
Awesome. That is cool.
See, we found something. Give me the hot sauce. Always digging something up over here. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan was a great sport. And, during the media day news conference this year, Stacey, he was so loose. He was telling jokes and one-liners, and I'm like, what a difference a year makes. So I think when he first came here, he was kind of stung by all the criticism that it was the worst free agent signing. And then he goes out and averages over 27 points a game.
Yeah, I've been over there the last couple of days, training camp. I got a chance to talk to him today. Really excited about the way the season started. Really excited about the new teammates. Watching practice today, seeing him, participate and being a leader, a lot more vocal. Both him and Zach, you see right there laughing. He's really enjoyed his time in Chicago. People, most of the critics think he's going to have a come down from last year. I don't think he is. This guy puts too much, work into it. He's a prideful guy. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He understands his role on this team, and they need him to play well. They both him and Zach have to play at a certain level, Mark, for this team to get to where they are. They got to hold the fort down until Alonzo comes back, and we don't know when that's going to be. But until he comes back, those guys have to play at a high level every single night.
He's going to be entering his 14th season, and some of the questions at Media Day were in regard to, well, can you still do it at your age? And he kind of bristled at that, saying, I'm not that old. He even made a joke. He goes, I ain't like I'm Kevin Willis hanging out at the end of my career. And then he said, shout out to Kevin Willis.
Big Kevin Willis with them T-Rex arms. He got them T-Rex arms coming through the Advocate Center. Yeah, and he got that D voice. What'd you say, Debo? Give me that chain. My mama made that chain. But no, seriously though, you look at guys like LeBron James, Goran Dragic, guys who are up there in age. Kevin Durant's in the 30s. A lot of the star players now, they're transitioning to the later part of their careers, and so Steph Curry, all these guys. And so the way they train, the way they prepare themselves, LeBron James is an anomaly. What he's been able to do with as many miles as he has on his body, it's amazing. And, DeMar DeRozan is no different. They eat, they watch what they eat, they work out, they stretch, they got their own people doing a lot of stuff for them as far as their conditioning is concerned. And they can play until the end of their 40s. Look at Tom Brady.
Right, and DeMar was talking about the fact that with modern science and all the training methods, he said there's no reason why I can't still play at an elite level for a number of years. And we know one of the big influences on his career has been the late, great Kobe Bryant. Of course, he grew up in Compton, California, had a chance to work out with Kobe and spend a lot of time with him. And we asked him during the show what he thought about the influence of Kobe Bryant was on his great career.
Tell us the impact that Kobe's had on your life and what it meant to you to have that relationship with the late, great Kobe.
I mean, before I even had a relationship with him personally, Kobe was, my consistent imagination. I was young and I'm old enough to remember Jordan, but I remember Kobe first rookie game, and I remember watching every single game. So me being from LA and kind of the only game we could watch not having cable was the Lakers. So my whole imagination started with Kobe. Everything I seen him do, from the fadeaways to, I remember I used to always want an afro when I was a kid and push it back. Like Kobe. So, he was my imagination in the fadeaways and in the dunks and everything. So it started there because I started emulating everything I seen him do as a kid, and by the time I was 15, 16, to have a personal relationship with him, and that to grow and to personally be taught by him and get an understanding from him how the game should be played, the work ethic, everything that comes with it. It's like a dream come true, and I think that's why you see so much in my game, because my foundation, everything was built. I never told anybody this either. One thing, a conversation I remember I had with Cole was, he always told me, stay true to yourself and master whatever it is you want to be true to yourself with. And I used to always, when Kobe used to tell me stuff, I used to scratch my head like, man, what the hell is you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell is you talking about? You know what I mean?
Did he hit you with, you're welcome?
Basically, but that's how he was in conversations. I had not questioned him about what do you mean? Like, so I remember him telling me that. I think it was like, the next year they start really pushing that analytic thing and 3-point shooting and everything. And that just stuck in my head, that conversation he had. And I was just like, yo, you got to stop me from doing what I'm doing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked at it like, well, I'm gonna keep mastering this the best of my abilities. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna let nothing or nobody push me to do something else that I don't feel like I need to do. And I just stuck with it, honestly.
The pride of Compton, California, DeMar DeRozan. And I tell you what, if people think he's going to drop off this year, Stacey, they can think again, because he is primed for another big season.
I watched him in practice today, and the mid-range game is still unstoppable. I saw him get AC on a nice little up and under step, pump fake, step through, like I saw him do all of last season. He's a prideful guy, and he's a leader. He's a guy that he's not going to be the rah guy. He's not going to be yelling and screaming at guys. He's a guy that goes out there, he prepares, he leads by example. Younger players follow him. They watch what he does. That tells you what kind of player you are when you got a kid like Patrick Williams that's going to fly all the way out to LA and go work out at 4:30 in the morning and make sure he's there on time every single day to work out with you. Tells you the impact that DeMar has on this team.
Whispers, I didn't see you in that video. Where were you that day? You remember?
Nope.
Looking for homes in Florida? Is that what was going on?
That's probably what was happening.
Oh, my goodness.
Made some bad decisions.
Of course, we couldn't have this great show without our great sponsors, and one of our good friends is Jeff Vukovich, and you've heard that name many times before when you watch Bulls games over the years. When it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business, make sure you contact the king of insurance. It's our good friend, nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. I'm sure he sends his congratulations along for episode number 100. You can reach him at jeffvuk.com. That's Jeff VUK.com, and Stacey's getting ready for a season full of the nationwide jingle.
Before I hit the nationwide jingle, America, I just want to say Jeff has been with us from day one.
That's right.
He has been our number one loyal sponsor from day one. So, when we talk about nationwide is on our side, Jeff Vukovich was on our side too, baby.
That's right.
He's been on our side.
He's been loyal.
This is to you, Jeff. Nationwide. is on your side. Oh.
Yes, indeed. We are ready for the season to begin. Hard to believe that the preseason games start next Tuesday. So the Bulls will have a game at the United Center.
The summer went by too fast.
The one cloud hanging over the Bulls, of course, if you've been following the news, you know what's going on with Lonzo Ball. He had a procedure today, what they call an arthroscopic debridement, to try to clean some debris that's causing pain in his left knee. It's the third surgery on that knee. And the scary thing, Stacey, was when he did a Zoom with the local media on Tuesday, he talked about the fact that even going up the stairs, that his leg hurts. And that's frightening.
It is. I mean, this is a guy they're counting on. This is a guy that, they went out and got. They tried to get for, trade deadline 2 years ago. Wasn't able to pull it off, but they got their man for last season. It's a little concerning, but they feel like, talking to some guys on the inside, they feel like this is going to be really good for him because they're going to be able to get whatever the injury that's causing him problems. He's going to be out for a while. I mean, we don't know exactly when. There is no timetable. But when you talk about 4 to 6 weeks, that's just rehabbing. That's rehab time. You're not even talking about the time it's going to take for him to get in basketball shape and start ramping it up, doing basketball drills on the floor. So, you're looking at some time here. That's why the signing of Goran Dragic was so important. I think in the beginning, people were like, why are the Bulls going after him? Why are they signing him? And if you watch the World Championships this year, you can see why they brought him.
Yeah, he can still play.
This guy can still play. You got to be careful. You got to be careful with him. You heard the Bulls talk about this, trying to, limit his minutes. This is a guy that that shouldn't play back-to-back games. It's a guy that shouldn't be playing 3 games in 4 nights type things.
Right.
Keeping his minutes between that 25 and 30-minute range. I don't know who's going to start. You don't know.
I bet you it's Io.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the way I look at it, is that with 2 perimeter players, and we saw this in the playoffs last year against Milwaukee, teams are going to back off, and Io has to knock down shots.
Yeah.
AC is going to have to knock down shots at the point guard position.
They're going to be open.
But I did see something today that I was really encouraged about with Io. Io last year really thought about when the ball came to him, whether he should take the shot or not. There was hesitation. He got better as the year went on, Mark. But this year, just watching him today in practice, ball swinging around, boom, 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 catch and shoot. No hesitation, and knocked it down. Also, I was really, really glad to see Kobe White go out there. Kobe White looked really, really good. He's got a new America. Kobe White's got a different look now, different hairstyle, because he has braids now. And so when he made a couple of moves off the dribble, off the bounce, and finished strong, then came down on a catch and shoot 3 on transition, and I thought it was Patrick Williams, and I'm like, man, Patrick Williams been working on his 3-point shooting. And then my trainer Mike Orr said, no, that's Kobe, and I'm like, I didn't even recognize Kobe because I'm expecting different hairstyle, whatever.
Yeah.
And he looked really, really good. So I've been on the Kobe White bandwagon from the start, and I'm staying on it. I'm telling you, Bulls Nation, this team is going to be a lot better than what you think. I got a chance to see Drummond today. Drummond is a big dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big, strong guy. Very agile, can run the floor. I saw him get out in transition today for a big man, runs extremely well. Rebounds you remember all the rebound games he had against
2020
us, okay?
games, yeah.
This is not like us getting Ben Wallace at the end of his career. This guy is still under 30.
He's only 28, yeah.
He's under 30. And he eats up rebounds. He goes and gets it. He doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. He goes and gets it. He starts you in transition. They had him out there. I saw him out there. He was taking some threes. I'm not a big fan of that, but hey, you know what? If you're gonna rebound like Dennis Rodman, go ahead and take a few.
I was sitting next to Sam Smith at the media day session. They brought all the players in one by one to do news conferences and stuff, and so Goran Dragic was talking for a while, and he pokes me. He goes, should I ask him about Derek Duncan on him? Oh! And I go, you better, because if you don't, I am going to.
Wow.
And so he asked him about it, and a big smile goes on his face, because, of course, you have the all-time classic call. And he goes, this is my nightmare. And then he goes on to say, he said that's the only time he's been dunked on in his career. And he said that it was like his 2nd or 3rd year in the league, and he figures, what the heck, I got to challenge him. And then he basically wraps it up. He goes, it is what it is. At least I'm on TV all the time.
Well, let me tell you something. He didn't tell the full story.
Okay.
The full story about that dunk was Steve Nash was still playing in Phoenix at the time. and he was backing up Steve Nash.
Yeah.
And he was getting ready to come out the game. And he saw Steve Nash walking over to the scorer's table, and he jacked up a three and missed. And it was a long rebound. I think Tyrus got the ball. Somebody got the ball, and Derek was out running because he was the one that contested the three and took off. And so they pitched it ahead to Derek, and he was mad that he was coming out the game. He was coming out the game. So he was like, "I'm gonna block this shot. I'm gonna block this shot, and then I'm gonna probably thought he's gonna get to stay in the game because it's gonna be great defense." Yeah. But he didn't get the memo that Derrick Rose can't go upstairs, and he's got a 40-inch vertical, and he got posterized. And it was that right there, like. I forgot I was an analyst, a broadcaster. You know, even though I'm a pretty good analyst and broadcast. Give me my QD. Yeah. I'm a professional. I'm a professional analyst. Okay. And at that time, I was still like new. You know. Yeah. And for that split second, I was a fan. I was surprised I didn't curse. Yeah. Here it is, America.
Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs.
Woo! The Ric Flair, baby. Call it Ric Flair. But it was such an iconic play from a really dynamic guard at that time. Derrick Rose was at the height of his superpowers. Mm-hmm. And when he jumped up to dunk that ball, like he literally scratched the back of his neck with the ball. Dragic comes in. See, Dragic got up. He got up because he's a pretty good athlete. He got up. But Derrick the party was at the penthouse.
He kept going up, rising.
The party was at the penthouse. It wasn't on the 7th floor. And Dragic thought it was on the 7th floor. D Rose at the penthouse and bammed on him, boy. Woo!
Well, Dragic had a good sense of humor about it. I think he's going to be a really nice addition.
I hope he's not mad at me. Before
we bring Will in, I want to get one more clip in from past shows. You know, we get guys from all over the place, and we actually interviewed Zach LaVine when he was in his car. He's driving around the area after practice, and he was a good sport. And, you know, Zach made his mark last summer when he played for the U.S. Olympic team, and they asked him to be a defensive stopper, and he didn't care. So here's Zach talking about his Olympic experience winning a gold medal with Team USA.
And I thought that the experience with the Olympic team really helped.
Yeah, no, it was incredible because, you know, just like what you said, that everybody could score on that team. You play with some of the 12 best players in the world. So, and you almost had to figure out your roles and your minutes on that team. We had Kevin Durant, you know, who was going to be the lead scorer, getting most of the shots, and then you had guys like Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, you know, me, you know, you have a bunch of guys that, you know, average over 26, 27 points per game, but you're not going to be in that same role. So just for me, okay, look, coach, I'll pick up and play defense all the time. I'll be the one trying to take charges or dive on the floor, which I haven't had that role before, but it gave me a little bit of an insight to when I get back to the Bulls and on my regular team, it's going to add a nuance to my game that I might not have to do it every single possession, you know, like I was in the Olympics, but you know, hey, look, I got Bradley Beal this game, or, you know what, look, I got James Harden, so you go guard KD, and it'll help our team in the long run.
Yeah, we were so thankful that Zach didn't get in an accident when he was driving around talking to us.
And we would have got blamed for it.
Yeah, the interview finally ended when he had to park his car. The valet said, you're going to have to get out of the car. And he said, well, I guess the interview's over. But Zach was a great sport. We really enjoyed visiting with him. And, of course, he had his season kind of impacted by the issues with his left knee, but he had a scope procedure done this summer, and he said he's feeling as good as he ever has, and that means big things because Zach is in the prime of his career. Of course, he signed that max contract in the offseason, and he's ready for big things this year.
Well, I got a chance to talk to Zach today in practice, and we had a nice conversation. He's healthy, 100%. Mm-hmm. He looked good on the floor. Jumper looked wet. The athleticism is there. Saw him get to the rim and dunk the ball, block a couple of shots. Talking to him after practice, one of the things he said, I asked him, you know, how the baby's doing, how the baby's doing. Yeah. Because him and his wife had a baby, and baby son, and he's like, hey, you know what? He's like, I'm gonna have to hire me a babysitter. I was like, oh, so you're not getting no sleep? And he was laughing about it, and he said the one thing that's really changed is his focus now. He said, you know, having a son, now it's not about me. You know, it's about this baby and you know, the rest of our lives together. And so he's focused on basketball, but he puts a whole new perspective on things when you have kids. You know that, Mark. I know that. Tim knows that.
You know, one of the things that people have followed us for the first 99 episodes know is that Timmy Whisper sometimes gets off some crazy questions. Did you have a question for Zach that day? Did you remember you asked him anything crazy?
I did. I can't remember what it was, though.
Yeah. So check out that episode. Go back in our library. All of our shows are available on YouTube, and I know that they're on Apple Podcasts. So go back and listen to that Zach Levine thing and see what Tim had to say, because you never know.
Yes, Danger D.
I will put them in the description of the YouTube video. Every clip we've talked about, I will put them under so everybody can just click on them on the link and head back to
It's not a real effective way of communication. I mean, what our guy D is saying, that there'll be a description available for every clip that we had. And Will Perdue is in the Sriracha waiting room, so we're going to bring him in. Much more Bulls talk. We'll talk about Patrick Williams. We'll talk about the new additions to the roster, and a whole lot more on our 100th episode of Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Woo!
You know, one of the great things about the show over these past 100 episodes is we found out some talents that our panel has, can do some celebrity impersonations. And one of the big hits, especially with the Twitch group, is Tim Kelley as Christopher Walken reading our hot sauce ad. So, you know, this is the 100th episode, so we got to bring Christopher Walken back, right?
That's right. Hey, you trying to score the best hot sauce in the game? Well, listen up. We got a variety of flavors that bring some spice into your life. That's right. Give me the hot sauce. It's the best small batch organic sauce that you've ever had. Whether it's Chicago style, Stacey's favorite, St. Pat's Verde, or the Sweet King's Q, spicy and sweet, just like the king. Or the hottest of the bunch, Chicago's 1871. Burn your eyes out. Stop by GimmeTheHotSauce.com and use code KING21. Get 21% off your first order. That's right.
Give me the hot sauce.
Oh.
And every package is taken care of personally, lovingly by Timmy Whispers, back in his closet.
No, I pack them.
You? Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken's packing them?
That's going to cost a lot of money for a big-time Hollywood star to be
He really
packing hot
takes that
sauce.
job seriously, packing.
That's why it's pricey.
Spicy and pricey.
Question?
Hey, that's our guest, Will Perdue, stopping by for episode 100. Will, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, hey, I had a question for Christopher.
All right.
What was his favorite scene from Wedding Crashers?
Oh, boy.
Did you miss that one, Timmy?
Yeah.
No, I saw it. I was there. Yeah, I liked going to the funerals. That's where the action was at.
Eyes are burning.
Yeah, you know, Whispers is a man of many talents. Interviewing, not one of them. So, like I said, he's embarrassed some of our guests along the way with some really weird questions, talking about painting toenails,
licking toes, sucking toes,
just some crazy stuff. So, Will, we're not going to get to that.
Did Whispers coach the Jets? What?
Yeah, I think right. So. The Rex Ryan fetish.
Of course.
Oh man.
Hey, let's jump right into it. We're going to start out talking about your playing career, and take me back to training camps, like in 1989, 90, and 91, when a young Will Perdue, a young Stacey King, a young Tank Williams, Cliff Livingston are all battling for playing time. What was that like? What were practices like in training camp when you're all trying to prove to the coaches that you should be the one that gets the most playing time?
You know, it's kind of interesting. I was thinking about that, you know, with Bulls Media Day on Monday. And I was thinking about, I looked at the schedule, and first of all, I see they're going once a day.
Yeah, right.
Here's my get off the lawn segment. they're going once a day. I just remember it was written in stone. 7 days, twice a day, no days off, straight into the first game on the 8th day. So you're like, okay, I got 14 practices before that first day. And it was, the one thing I can say is thank God that Bill got older and he didn't have to do every practice.
Keep those elbows off the court, right?
Listen, I tell people this story. He hit me so hard in the side of the head one time that my ear turned black and blue. I didn't know your ear could turn black and blue. And then he would look at you like, what was your head doing there? It's not my fault.
That's funny.
But it was interesting though, because it was just, it's kind of funny. Everybody you just mentioned brought a different skill set to the table as far as, what they could do. And as you pointed out, Mark, it was trying to show Phil, who, and Stacey, I'll get your feeling on this also. My first year was with Doug, but after that it was with Phil. You kind of felt like, I'm not even sure that guy's paying attention. Because it was basically, as Stacey will tell you, Tex and Johnny Bach ran the practices. And so you were just trying to spend a lot of time with them, convince them, and it was difficult but what it did do was prepare you for the season, because the practices were like the games, because there were so many guys fighting for playing time. You knew that when you stepped on that court, you're like, hey, I could be out here for 3 or 4 plays. I could be out here for 10 plays, and then Stacey's going to be in, and then Scott Williams, and then Cliff, and that's the other thing. Who knows who else they had in camp? They may run them a few times through the cycle as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, very competitive, and I think we'll attest to this. When you got guys that are pushing each other, and you're fighting each other every single day, you develop a bond. And training camp is dog eat dog. But as the year goes along, you become really close with those groups, because those are the guys you battle with every day. I mean, if you didn't play a certain amount of minutes in a game, we're playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3. Even before games, like I watched the players now warm up. They got a coach. There's a coach for everybody. Will tell you, we went out and warmed up ourselves. Like we went out there and we worked on we go out there and we work on our game shots, what we were going to work on, and then we're liable to play 1-on-1 for like 20 minutes just to get a sweat going. And then once we go back in the locker room, of course we're going over the scouting report, but we're loose and ready to go when that game starts.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing is, who our individual coach was we were working with prior to the game? It was whatever ball boy we grabbed and said, hey, we need you to drop posts into the post. There was no coach. But, it's honestly, and I'll be interested to hear what Stacey has to say, the savior for that, to me, was the plane rides, because is what Stacey said. I don't know if you want to call it ego. I don't know if you want to call it competitive juices. We were going at it in practice every day. We were doing the 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 before games. Once the season got going, if you didn't play 20 minutes or more, you'd have to stay after practice and, play 2-on-2, 3-on-3. So, it's a constant, as Stacey said, it was dog eat dog. It's a constant battle, but I felt like the plane rides were the things that kind of kept us even keel, because then we'd get on the plane. Remember, Stacey, we all used to just me, you, BJ, Pax, Bill Cartwright. When Scott Williams was there, we used to all sit up on the front of the plane and they just sit there and talk after games, or on the way to a game, or on the way back from a game. And that was kind of like that, knowing that, okay, Stacey's going to come rolling up, and maybe him and I kind of got into it physically about something, during one of those workouts or during practice or one of those 3-on-3 sessions. But that part on the plane seemed to kind of be the equalizer that kind of just let some of those things just kind of melt away.
There's been a lot of publicity about Aaron Rodgers being so tough on his young receivers. He calls them out, saying they're not running the right routes and they're dropping passes in practice. What was it like, either in a practice or a game, when you dropped a pass from Michael Jordan? I mean, did he air you out, or just basically wouldn't pass it to you the rest of the day?
A little bit of both. I always told people there was nothing better than getting dressed down by Michael Jordan in front of 25,000 people in person, and I don't know how many millions on television. Because the one thing is, he would let you know that you made a mistake, whether it was verbally, and probably more so with his body language and with his eyes, than by saying something. And that was because initially when you first started, you're like, hey, I don't want to let that guy down. Because what we didn't know back then was, how much weight does this guy carry? How much does he actually talk to the coaches about who he likes and who he dislikes? one of those situations. So it was just, you didn't want to disappoint any of your teammates, but specifically that guy.
Yeah, he was. I remember my rookie year, we're playing Cleveland, and he got up in the air, and Bill Cartwright hated to, when he'd go rebound, and Michael didn't have the shot, he'd fire a ball when Bill's head was turned and hit him in the back or something. So we're coming as a TNT game. I think it was when Michael had the 69. And so Michael's yelling at Bill as they're walking off the floor. He's like, Bill, you got to catch another three. I mean, he was cursing at him.
Yeah, it's my turnover.
And then that's one thing. One thing about Bill. Bill was really like a silent killer.
Yeah.
He can only take so much, okay? So Bill's walking over there and he said, hey, you better shut your effing mouth or I'll choke you. And then MJ was like, Bill, I got that, but you got to catch. His whole demeanor changed.
Yeah.
And I was like, Bill got some weight up in here. Yeah, that's my dude right there. I mean, he mentored me and Will and Scott Williams. I mean, that was a guy that we always went to. Whenever we had a question, whether we needed to know something. I remember coming in as a rookie and I signed late, and so I'm coming in late. I know everybody's like, "Oh, I came in the day before camp," so I wanted to come out and make an impression. So I'm guarding Bill Cartwright. We're doing this drill where you pop out to mid post, about 15 feet away from the elbow, catch it face up, and then you play one-on-one. So I'm matched up against Bill. Now I don't know about elbows. I don't know about anything. So Bill's popping out there, and I was quick. So when he'd go out to get the ball, I would steal it every time. Get the hand in the pass lane, steal it, and I'm coming back to the line. And so Bill's like, after the second time I did it. So Bill said, hey, come here, Rook. Come here right now. Come here. If you do that again, I got something for you. And so, not wanting to back down because I'm a rookie. And
you got to show what you can do.
I'm like, man, whatever you got to do. Whatever you got to do, what you got to do. He said, okay. So they go out. He goes out again, does the same play. He's going to pop out like 10 till 12 feet away from the rim. I go out to try to steal the ball again. It was an easy steal. Texas throwing the ball was an easy steal. I'm getting ready to run out there. He caught me with an elbow in the throat. I thought my Adam's apple was destroyed. I thought it was applesauce. He hit me so hard, my throat hurt for like 2 weeks. And I was on the ground, wailing on the ground. I was so hurt, and I wasn't going to fight him. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
So we go back to the line, and he goes, hey, bitch, you won't do that again. And I didn't.
Oh man, those are some great times. We had Bill on the show, Will, and he was telling some of those stories.
I'm sure Bill said that, but also, I mean, he did that to me a couple times too. Because again, like Stacey's, you're trying, and he would put his hands on his hips, kind of turn his head sideways and look at you, and you're like, all right, I know what he's about to do, so I'm gonna back off now because I know what's coming. But then he would always be like, hey man, let's go to lunch and talk. And you go to lunch, and you'd be like, hey, I forgot my wallet. Can you pick me up?
Well, you obviously had a great run in Chicago, and then, of course, you got traded to San Antonio for Dennis Rodman, and, you had to find a whole new way to fitting in there. I mean, they had the triple towers, which people probably couldn't even envision now in the era of small ball. It was you and Tim Duncan and David Robinson playing on the same front line, and you eventually won a championship with the Spurs with Greg Popovich. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I just remember when I first got traded, I was really disappointed. Because Stacey remembers Michael had come back the previous year, towards the end of the year. We lost to the Magic. You knew that did not sit well with Michael. He was going to be ready to play from day one. We were going to, we were the betting favorites to get back to the finals from the East and blah, blah, blah. And I got traded, but it was probably, for me personally and professionally, the best thing that ever happened or could have happened, because it answered a lot of questions that I probably wouldn't have gotten answered in Chicago. But the thing I like to talk about that kind of set the tone was, I remember I got traded. It was during the lockout. So I fly down literally the day before we go to training camp, and I meet with Bob Hill, who's the coach at the time, Greg Popovich. But, something Pop said to me in that meeting. He goes, listen, we traded for you for a reason. We've watched the film. We've obviously played against you. We know what you can do. And then he stopped and he goes, so let me rephrase that. We know what Chicago thought you could do, but we feel like you can do more. So you've now got 4 weeks and 8 games to show us exactly what you can do. If you think you can shoot threes, shoot a bunch of threes. If you think you can score 20 a game, take a lot of shots in practice. He's like, I don't really care what you do, but what you do over these next 4 weeks will determine how much you play, how we play you, who you play with. We're walking in with a clean slate. And this is up to you to prove to us, prove to us that we made the right choice by trading for you, and B, allowing you to prove to us what else you can do besides what Chicago asked you to do in the triangle offense. And that's when, I was like, man, I haven't had a coach say that to me since college. And it was kind of nice to, because I don't know about Stacey, but, I butted heads with Phil a lot. I spent a lot of time in his office in some knockdown, drag out shouting matches. But, nonetheless, I learned a lot, from him as well. But I just remember and I go from those meetings to getting on the bus, because the Spurs, we had training camp over in Austin at the University of Texas's campus at the student center, because they had like 4 courts. So we had 8 baskets we could use, and they blocked time off for us. It was awesome. But, Pop was always a guy that was in my corner and I remember even in training camp, even when a couple of days when he thought I wasn't being very aggressive, he pulled me aside and be like, hey, I know you can be more aggressive than that. It's okay to shoot. It's okay to do this. I know that's David Robinson, but how about you go at him, make him have to practice, put him on the hot seat, and let's see what goes on. Go from that, I just remember the first time we were down there, Dave Cowens is the big man coach. I got to work with Dave Cowens. And, like Stacey said, same thing. Every team does it. You break it out to about 12 feet and you catch the ball and you do a reverse pivot and Pop it intentionally goes, David, you're on offense. Will, you're on defense. The guards are on the other end. And what I didn't know is the guards had all stopped and were watching because they were curious. All right, what's this guy going to do? Pop's already got him going against David. David did his little move, and I guess he, wasn't engaged, and he went up for a little shot, and I blocked it. And the guards went nuts, and everybody was howling. And now, of course, after that, I think David blew right by me and dunked it. But, because as Stacey talked about, he was just explosive. He was quick. But, from day one, I always felt like Pop was in my corner, and that was just, like I said, that answered a lot of questions for me from that point moving forward. And I look back on that and said, that was a turning point for me professionally and personally.
That's what I always say in the NBA game, Will, is that when you get someone who believes in you and gives you the green light, basically anybody could be a star in this league. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I think about that. It's because you think about how many guys, Stacey, bounce around for so many teams, and all of a sudden they stick on their 5th team or their 6th team, and you're like, wow, what's going on there? And then all of a sudden, you read an article these days in The Athletic or The Ringer or wherever, and it's just, the coach believed in me, and he was in my corner and he spent time with me, and then it just, I just was able to relax and play basketball. And I think that's one of the things that, one of these guys, I try to tell guys all the time when I do some stuff with guys coming out, I said, hey, don't be so concerned about where you're drafted. Oh, I'm the 7th pick, 8th pick, 9th pick. You got to be more concerned about what team you go to and if you actually fit on that team and how and what's the relationship you have with those coaches more so than being able to say where you were picked. Because there's a lot of guys picked in the lottery that didn't work out and got traded and did much better in their 2nd team.
Well, I had the pleasure to work with Will and Kendall Gill for a lot of years on the Bulls pre- and post-game coverage, and Will's still doing great work over there. I want to get your thoughts on this year's team. Obviously, kind of a dark cloud hovering over the start of training camp with the Lonzo Ball news. We talked a lot about Lonzo earlier in the show, but I want to ask you about Patrick Williams. I mean, it seems like there's so much is being put on this young kid's shoulder. His third year in the league, and it's almost like he needs to take a step up to really give them another player that they can go to make a shot, to maybe create some offense, and also maybe more importantly, to be that good defensive player at the power forward spot.
Well, there's no doubt about it, because especially now when you start looking at, not just throughout the whole league, but specifically in the East, with all the guys that he has to guard, from Jason Tatum in Boston to Jimmy Butler in Miami to now DeJounte Murray with Atlanta to Giannis in Milwaukee. I mean, there's no nights off. No. And unfortunately, he's dealt with some injuries. But, I've had a couple people that have constantly harped on this, and I'm starting to fall into this camp and I want to get Stacey's opinion, he might be better suited with a second unit, because then he's the primary, in my opinion. If you start looking at the second unit and he's on the second unit, and that doesn't mean he doesn't necessarily start, but, like Stacey will talk about when we were in that at that one point when Stacey and I would play a lot together on the second unit, Scottie Pippen was the only starter in that group. And I'm starting to think about, what if P. Will was the fifth player in that second unit? How much better would he be if he's the primary scorer in that second unit? Because now you start thinking about offensively, how many touches is he really going to get with Zach LaVine and with DeMar DeRozan and with Vooch? Because that was the one thing that, if anything stood out to me in media days, was Vooch talking about, hey, I'm more than a three-point shooter. I'm more suited to play with my back to the basket down into the post, and that's where I really think I'm more efficient. And I'm like, okay.
Stacey likes that.
That's definitely what I want to hear.
Yeah, we all heard that. So then I'm like, okay, I hope he's talked to Billy about that. So all of a sudden you're like, so what does that make P. Will? That makes him what, the fourth option at best?
Right.
So all of a sudden you're like, and the one thing I don't think the guy lacks skill. I don't think he lacks confidence. But I always wonder, maybe if we back him in a corner and put him in that second unit and say, hey, the second unit doesn't survive unless you score, unless you become the lead dog. Because I think he's just, to me, I think he's a little too passive. He's a little too nice, and he's more than willing to take a back seat to those guys. And as Stacey knows, that just doesn't work in this league.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Will, as far as like putting him in that second group, maybe pull him out earlier in the first quarter, let him get a little rest, and then have him go out there with that second group. Because you go back to last year in that Minnesota game, when the Bulls took out all their starters and he was the go-to guy.
Yeah.
He was the guy that the ball was in his hands. He was the guy, the playmaker. He was the guy that took the shots. He had 30-plus points. And people say, well, Minnesota didn't have their starters. They only had two guys out of that lineup. Pretty much Anthony Edwards played. The only person was D'Lo wasn't there, and it was Towns. But everybody else on their starting was there. Covington, all these guys were there, and he just ate those guys up. And I thought that was a confidence boost for him to carry into the playoffs. Now, you go back to that Milwaukee series. I thought the first game he was a little passive, a little nervous. But after that, he arguably was the Bulls' second or third best player in that playoff series against Milwaukee.
No, he really was. And unfortunately, because as a whole, the team didn't really play that well, I think it was overlooked how well he actually played. But at the end of the day, it's without Lonzo Ball, and for their defense to be able to withstand the onslaught of, which now is the Eastern Conference. And as we mentioned, those individual players that, can drop 40 on any given night, he's going to have to be ready. He's going to have to step up. I mean, he's going to have to take that, mentality of just trying his best to be a stopper, but at the same time, finding a way to be able to, provide points, effort, offensive rebounds, on the other end of the floor.
All right, Whispers, what do you got? It's your chance to ask a question of our guest, Will Perdue.
Uh-oh. That's a scary moment. So, Will, do you still blow on your nose with your lower lip? And what was that all about? And you still do it.
What the hell? Just like Whispers. Oh, my goodness.
So whispers, just so you know, I first started doing that in high school.
There you go.
So you got to remember, this was back in the 80s, right? When I graduated high school in 83. So what was the style back then? I mean, I'll gladly throw it out there, man. It was called the butt cut. Everybody had to part right down the middle of your hair, right? And you had the waves on each side. You had the gold chain going. You had it long, wavy. So when I would play and start sweating, it would then get in my face. So instead of constantly, as Stacey knows, back then, I had the ball in my hands all the time, so I couldn't wipe my face. So I was constantly going with my lips, trying to blow my hair out of my eyes. And even as I got older and it wasn't in my eyes, it was just such a natural reaction. I would do it all the time. People ask that question quite often.
Yeah,
It's the low-rent hairdryer.
There was a theory that it was a play call even that came out back in the day. Did you ever hear that one?
No.
Okay.
Hey.
Or maybe it was more like Hornacek. He used to wipe his face when he was shooting a free throw to say hi to his kids.
Yeah.
I was talking to my girlfriend in the stands.
Hey, we had Darius Garland, who only spent a handful of games at Vanderbilt, but NBA All-Star now.
By the way, a handful.
Yeah, he got hurt, and then he got drafted 5th or 6th overall, and he's an All-Star now. Great kid.
Great pickup.
He said that there is a plaque or some kind of monument honoring your career, your All-American career at Vanderbilt. Have you been back there, and is that actually true?
So I'm in the Vanderbilt Hall of Fame.
Good.
So there is a plaque there. There's not a monument.
I thought maybe the size 21 shoes or whatever.
So they have a jersey. So what they've done in Memorial Gym is they have a walk of fame. Stacey obviously has played there, but when you go to the Fog, they have that walk of fame area where they have all the trophies and everything. So at Vanderbilt, they have the walk of fame where they have the jerseys and everything of all the players that have played in the NBA. So I have something there, and then they have another place where I've been enshrined into the Vanderbilt Hall of Fame. So they have something there for that. But, mentioning Darius Garland,
yeah,
that's another guy. I mean, I know people are talking about Donovan Mitchell being traded, but I am, on one hand, I'm scared. And on the other hand, I'm really looking forward to that first game on October 22nd, because I think he's more important to that team than Donovan Mitchell is.
He's good. I'll tell you what. And remember that draft? It was Zion, it was Ja Morant, and then Darius Garland was kind of like the consolation prize. R.J. Barrett was in there. The Bulls were supposed to pick 4th. They fell to 7th in the lottery. And we hope Kobe White turns out to be a great player. But right now he's got some work to do to catch up to those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and you think about only 4 games in college, and look what this kid's done. He was an all-star last year.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, I'm sitting here talking. I mean, I'm saying, listen, the Bulls could actually be better this year.
Right.
Because another year together, a better understanding. I think, quite honestly, Vooch, had a bad year last year shooting. I think he does better this year. Zach's obviously should be better. But that being said, Cleveland's better. Atlanta's better. You still got Boston. I mean, they could actually have a worse record, but yet still be a better team, even though their record's not as good. And they could, be in that 8th, 9th, or 10th spot because of how tough the Eastern Conference is.
Well, I'm going back to 1988. I'm going to revisit 1988. Okay, 6 degrees of separation. Okay, Will Perdue's Vanderbilt team was highly ranked. It was a team that that was supposed to go deep into the tournament, led by the great Will Perdue. Okay, they ran up against Danny and the Miracles, right? Didn't y'all play Danny and the Miracles? Okay, they were supposed to beat Kansas.
Yeah.
See, if Will would have done
taking care of his job,
take care of business, then I wouldn't have had to play them in Kansas City, and we wouldn't have lost to them in the finals. So I'm blaming Will Perdue. I've been wanting to
It's all your fault, Will.
I've been wanting to grab Will and tell him about this because when we were looking at the brackets, okay, that was a pretty stacked region. I don't remember which region was it, Will, you guys were in, because we were in the Southeast. So you guys...
Yeah, we beat the number 2 seed Pittsburgh.
Yes,
and
Charles
Lincoln in
Smith.
overtime.
Yes, That was a huge upset. And then you guys had beat them because they were supposed to be the team really in Kansas State when Mitch Richmond was in your bracket, and they were a top 10 team. That was a really deep region. And then Kansas was like the lowest seed out of everybody. And then so I thought Will and the great Vanderbilt team was
take them out.
We're gonna take them out.
Yeah.
And Will,
we thought we were too, but then Danny Manning had something to say about that. I accidentally fouled out. They win the national championship, and Danny Manning becomes the first pick in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Oh, Will, that's a scar it's never been able to heal for me, man. We're supposed to win that national championship. Oh, Lord.
And if you've listened to the show for 100 episodes, you've heard Stacey talk about that a few times.
You know, Mark, I sense a little
only in 99 of them.
Hey, you know what? You better be quiet over there. Seriously.
Was that Charles Smith, the same guy who got his shot blocked 5 times at Madison Square Garden?
Yes, at Madison Square Garden. It was, yeah. Listen. And then,
hold on a second. Since Stacey wanted to bring that up, I want to bring something up.
All right.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, we used to fly MGM when we finally started flying private. And like I talked about, all those guys would sit up front. And obviously, Mark, I think you've worked with Stacey. You know, Stacey probably talked the most out of everybody that was up there.
No chance.
Stacey was constant entertainment. But for some reason, on one flight, Stacey and back then, you remember everything was VHS, right? We used to watch games, guys would bring movies. Okay, you brought a movie. Let's watch this movie. Stacey gets on and he's got like 12 bags and he's disheveled and he's got going on. And then he all of a sudden goes, "All right, boys, I got something for you right here. This is my Oklahoma highlight film." He puts it in. Literally 2 minutes later, here comes MJ up to the front. What the dropping F-bomb is this? And then I was just like, whatever led you to think that was a good idea to bring that on the plane?
Hey, baby, I wanted y'all to see greatness. Okay, because the only person can guard me in the NBA was Phil Jackson. That's the only guy. He was a lockdown defender. That's the only guy that can stop Stacey King and Will Perdue was Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson, yeah.
You know what? I will say this: Stacey was. I don't know how he did it. What happened there? Who am I talking to?
I think that was Maddie, our producer.
Yeah, I think that was Siri.
I think that's Alexa or Siri, yeah.
Yeah.
She wants to clarify that story, I think.
I've always thought about this. Stacey was elusive in the sense that, like you said, he was quick for his size, had good footwork, but I mean, I can't tell you how many times I thought I had a shot blocked or defended. Stacey was kind of like the first, because you think about the guys we had at the time, with Horace Grant and Bill Cartwright and myself, and Dave Corzine got traded before Stacey came in, but
Stacey worked out against him for the draft.
Yeah,
that's another story.
But kind of like, I guess the best way to say it was kind of like bruiser guys, a little more physical. I wasn't necessarily physical, but I learned to be able to play in the NBA. But Stacey was the guy that could kind of do the up and under in the air. He kind of he'd get you to commit to the shot, and you shot it, had it blocked, and he was the guy that could take it up underneath and then, kind of do the big man finger roll. I mean, he was, I don't want to say he was, a European type, but he was very elusive in his ability to kind of get around bigger defenders, get to the basket. I don't want to say he wasn't explosive because, he used to dunk the ball all the time, but he had a way of, getting around guys and then being able to finish at the rim with amazing touch. And I was always impressed by that. I was always curious where he learned that.
Well, Stacey will tell you, he's like a ninja. He moves like a ninja.
Hey, listen. Hey, I told you. America. So you just heard it from Will Perdue.
That's right.
Okay, you just heard it from my guy, Will, your check's in the mail. But you just heard it from Will Perdue. The moves were there. It was Phil Jackson. He stopped me. He was the best defender I ever faced.
Right. Did you ever face Jackson too, like Stacey did?
Yeah, I was always wondering, I would ask Phil, just because Phil was, I always thought, and maybe Stacey can answer this, I never thought that Phil was direct when you would talk to him. He was always kind of like, you'd have a conversation with him and he would just start talking and you'd be thinking to yourself, what the hell is he even saying?
All that Zen stuff.
Yeah, and I'd be like, just, Phil,
give me an answer.
Tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Tex seems to be fairly happy, even though we could never tell. Johnny Bach, was always very supportive. Jim Clemens was, just stay the path. But I'm not really getting a lot of answers from Phil. I spent a lot of time in his office, and I'm like, I remember I was kind of a smart ass. But remember, Stacey, when you go in his office, he had that little Zen rock garden thing, where you had that little rake and you would rake the sand. I was like, what do you want me to do? Come in here and sit here and rake the sand? Do stuff like that. I'm like, I just want direct answers. But his whole thing was he had a thought. The ultimate big man for him was Wes Unseld, right? Big, broad shoulders and he used to always talk about how Wes Unseld could throw the ball off the backboard, catch it in the air, spin around, and then throw it to the other end and hit the other backboard. And I'm like, well, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that, but there's a lot of things that I can do. And I can't do anything about my shoulders. This is as broad as they're going to get. But, it was always, and I think Stacey's the same way. It was, you always felt like Phil was always looking for something else, And I didn't understand why, but it's okay. I mean, like I said, I learned things from him, and that's why I always talk about being traded. Was probably the best thing that ever happened to me personally and professionally because it answered a lot of questions. People were like, "Don't you think you would have won some more championships?" And I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely," but I don't think I probably would to this day be still questioning why. But I got a lot of those questions answered when I got traded, and that, Pop was a big part of that.
One of the things, Will, that I've always said about the teams that we played on, especially the first 3 championships, is that the team that we were on had some of the smartest guys, high basketball IQ guys. And it's evident now when you see guys post NBA careers, whether their career is gone, whether it be front office, everybody's doing something in basketball related that's positive that, so you go back and look at those teams, it's like, wow, to learn the triangle offense, most teams couldn't even do that. Because I tell Mark and these guys all the time, the triangle is not when you come down and call out plays. There are specialty plays that you call out, but it's reading defenses. It's like being a quarterback. Everybody's the quarterback on the team. Everyone is reading the defense. Everybody's reading where the cut's going to be, where the screen's going to be. Tell our listeners how hard that offense was for us learning during that time.
Well, it's, the best way to put it, and I just thought about this because I happened to see something I saw a video on social media of the Thunderbirds. How did the Thunderbirds fly so close together in tandem, right? Because it's almost like they know what the other guy's thinking. And a lot of it comes with practice because that's what I tell people about our practices. Our practices were 2 hours and an hour and a half of that was just constantly going over the offense. But the offense was predicated on what the defense was trying to do, meaning that it didn't matter if they double teamed, it didn't matter if they tried to play a zone, which back then was illegal, or if they tried to overplay or prevent the ball from being turned from one side of the floor to the other. all that stuff didn't matter because there was something for anything that an opposing defense could do, but you as an individual player had to identify that. And if everybody identified that correctly, meaning all 5 guys, the offense, it was unstoppable. It was clicking. I mean, it was a thing of beauty to watch, but that hardly ever happened. It was something that, I mean, what do you think, Stacey? I mean, it took probably, a season and a half before we really started to figure that out?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I always liken it, Will, to Tai Chi, because Tex was so big on fundamentals and a lot of stuff. We were doing things that you do like when you're in grade school, the jump pass, the, shot fake, bounce passes. We were doing fundamental things that you don't do at the pro game that sometimes when you watch today's game is lacking.
Yep. No, there's no doubt about it. From, how you would catch the ball in the post. I always tell people the best thing Tex would do is, you get in the post and he'd always remember his thing about don't be a jerk. He used to do this thing where he'd get in the post and he'd be like, when post players, you got to get the ball, you chin it, you get the elbows out, but don't be a jerk. And then he'd sit in the post and be like, I mean, he would like he was doing the robo-funk or something. He'd start doing this dance. And he'd be like, well, if you do that, your teammates can't read what you're doing. You got to be, don't be a jerk. You got to, it was almost like Steve Martin in the movie The Jerk, right, when he's waxing that car and all of a sudden, boom, it shoots him down the other side. But it was just like the terminology, the things that, I mean, I remember my first couple practices, my rookie year, when we had the bigs and Tex was working with us, I was like, this is like basketball 101. We're going back to grade school as far as how when a pass is made, you step to the pass. You don't wait for the pass to come to you. You chin the ball. I mean, we used to have to sit there and literally, like you were at basketball camp, step into a bounce pass, chest pass on a plane. Don't wind up with the overhead pass. You got to, snap it.
Snap it.
You're just like, holy cow. And I just remember that first practice. I'm like, this is the NBA? And then eventually later in the practice, when you start scrimmaging and you get your ass handed to you, you're like, yep, this is the NBA, all right. But Tex was so determined that our team had to be so fundamentally sound that we literally were doing those type of things in an NBA practice.
Well, it certainly worked, resulting in 11 championships for Phil Jackson as a head coach. Will, we want to thank you for joining us, being such a good sport. And I do have an announcement before we let Will go. I'm so excited. I'm going to get a chance to work with Will and Kendall again. I'm going to be doing play-by-play for the Windy City Bulls, and Will and Kendall are going to be working as analysts. So it's going to be fun to have the group back together. We're really excited about that.
So you're the head man now?
Yeah.
They finally recognized talent.
So Will has been gracious enough to sit alongside. Kendall's going to work some games as well. We're going to have a lot of fun over at the Now Arena.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's our first game November 5th.
I'm looking forward to it, Mark. Thank you very much for reaching out and asking, but also for those that are fans of the pregame show, best part of the pregame show is the crossover. There's some jabs being thrown in the 3-minute segment.
Yeah, you got to wear a chest protector on that show. You never know where a zinger's gonna come. And Will's like Will has it down to a pack, right? So me and Adam talk about this all the time. Will likes to get you when it's break, when
it's on the way out when you can't respond.
On the way out when you can't respond.
Yeah.
So we learn now to get Will early.
Yeah.
We attack Will early. So now if he comes back at us, it's too late. He can't get us. But that is good TV though. Yeah. So America, Bulls Nation, make sure you tune in to the pregame show, and then you also watch the crossover when me and Adam come on board with these boys. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Bulls basketball is back starting next week with the preseason games. Will, thanks a lot for joining us. Look forward to seeing you very soon over at the Now Arena.
I enjoyed it, and I specifically enjoyed speaking with Christopher Walken.
Yes, episode 100.
Thanks, Will.
We're back celebrating the 100th episode of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We're not just a basketball show. We've had all kinds of great guests throughout these past year and a half. guys from different sports. We've had entertainers. We've had UFC fighters. We've had football stars. Carlos Correa, who I think is going to be a Chicago Cub next year. I heard something today on social media that people are thinking that they're going to outbid everybody to bring him in.
They need him.
Yeah, they could use some star power. There's no question about it.
Star power.
And we had Jim McMahon on last month. And
Jimmy Mac.
We were kind of wondering, we heard the rumors that he had some debilitating injuries and that he might have been suffering from CTE. And he was as sharp as a tack. He told us some funny stories. The best one was about the first time he met the legendary Papa Bear George Halas after he was drafted, and was wondering what his first contract was going to be like. Take a listen to this.
Well, like I said, I sat there outside of his office for about an hour and just looked at the secretary. Finally, I said, "Hey, what am I doing here?" Because I had friends on the team. Kenny Marjoram I had known from an All-America team, and Keith Van Horn, and they wanted to take me out, celebrate. And so finally I just, "Hey, what am I waiting for?" And the lady said, "Well, Mr. Halas is taking a nap." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Wake his old ass up." I said, "I got things to do." And so she goes in, 5 minutes later, I get to go in there, and he's sitting there in his chair, and he's already got a contract. I just got drafted 5 hours ago, and he's got this contract, and he says, first thing he says, "Well, you're too short, you got a bad eye, your arm is suspect, and we don't know about one of your knees either." He goes, "Maybe you should go to Canada." This is the first words out of his mouth. And I look at him and I said, "Well, why'd you draft me, old man?" I said, "Who's in your scouting department?" And he has his contract. And at the time, if you remember, the USFL was just coming in.
Yep.
They were going to have their first season that spring. And so I knew I had a meeting with George Allen, who was coaching the Chicago Blitz, the old Redskin coach. And I had a meeting with him in the next 3 or 4 days. And so Halas slides his contract over, and I see the first number, and I just wadded it up, and I said, "I ain't signing that." And I throw it at him, and I walked out. That was my first meeting with Papa Bear.
What a great story from Jim McMahon. We were laughing throughout the interview. He was, like I said, he was as sharp as could be. And, of course, eventually the USFL thing didn't work out, so he had to go back and sign that contract. But he went on to have a long and distinguished career. Of course, he played with the Chargers and a couple of other teams, wound up in Green Bay as Brett Favre's backup, and he told that story as well. So if you get a chance, check out our visit with Jim McMahon. We've had so many big-name stars. We had Michael Wilbon from PTI, Chicago guy who was fantastic. As I mentioned, we had some UFC fighters. We're going to have Kendra Lust on the 100th show today, but she's a friend of the show, but she's under the weather, so she couldn't join us today.
Yes, Timmy's a little disappointed in that.
Yeah,
over
Tim
there.
he was getting those questions ready, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm heartbroken.
Yeah, he's really heartbroken. Last time we had her, he was sweating, and we had to go get a towel and towel him off.
That could happen again. I kept a beach
yeah.
towel behind me.
She was a little sick today, and so she'll be back on. So she's a friend of the program. Our young guys, our interns back here, Francisco, he was really disappointed. He bought a picture of her, wanted her to sign it, but he thought she was coming in, and I had to break it to him. Said no, she's doing it remotely.
If you get a chance, just go back over our library, whether you check out the podcast library or YouTube, and pick out some of your favorite guests and take a listen, because we've had some great interviews. Been fortunate. We've been doing this almost 2 years now. We started this back in November of 20, just when the pandemic was starting to ease off just a bit.
Well, I tell you what, Mark, it started off as a dream.
Stacey's Oscars speech here as he accepts his award.
Sorry, America. It did. Seriously, it started off as a dream. I was sitting at home during the COVID thing, and I was thinking to myself, I was walking outside to my mailbox, and my next door neighbor, he came out, and we were social distancing,
right?
And so he says to me, normally I would have ran in those circumstances because I didn't know what COVID was, so I would have taken off running. Normally when I went to the mailbox, I saw somebody walking down the street, I just turned back and ran like the little gopher.
Those were strange times.
Oh man, yeah, the groundhog.
Yeah,
I went back in, but this particular time we were social distance, and he said, he asked me what I was doing during the break.
Yeah,
and I said, no, just sitting around watching a lot of movies, a lot of Hallmark movies, and then he said, you should do a podcast. And I said, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about podcasts. He goes, I do one. And I'm thinking, who's going to listen to you? So I go,
Stacey doesn't live there anymore, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So I said, so what do you do a podcast on? I said, and who listens?
Yeah.
He said, you know what? It's not about who listens. It's something I want to do. Is he's in the hunting. So the situation of him talking about hunting, and even though he only had 5 listeners and they're all family members, he didn't care. He didn't care, America. He was going to do it his way. And he said to me, I think you'd be good at it. You're funny. I watch you on the Bulls games. You're super hilarious. I think you would be a lot of fun. He said, just got to make sure your content is good. Boom, boom. I'm a professional analyst. Exactly. There you go, D. Right on tune, a professional analyst. So then the idea was, okay, so who can I get to work with me? Like, who can I get to do this journey with me? And, the first person I think of, I said, I got to have a good moderator. I got to have a good police officer that keeps everything flowing. And me and you, Mark, have worked a lot together. So I said there was a plus America, my friends. So we're all friends besides, coming together on the podcast. So I wanted my friends to be on this show. So I called Mark up, and Mark was in between the gigs right there. You were forcibly retired. We're gonna have a Mark banner over here too for the Comcast. But so Mark was in between jobs right there. So I said, Mark, come on, do this podcast with me. Boom, boom, boom. So Mark agreed. Boom. So then John and Susan, who were here earlier. So John Walsh, who would work with me for 8 years at Comcast.
Stinger and Southside Susan.
Yeah. They were big on this show as well. They helped us get going.
They helped us grow.
They helped us
build the foundation.
And they helped the foundation. And so Stinger, we worked together for 8 years. So he was, we won 2 Emmys together. So I wanted him. We're great friends. I wanted him, and then we wanted a female perspective because we didn't want to be just a bunch of guys up here talking sports. And Southside Susan was the person that she had her little rants and stuff about the teams, and she could get away with it because she's a woman. We couldn't get away with it. I couldn't say anything about the Bulls,
right?
But she could, So she brought a different dynamic, and then we went and this is my best friend here. I know it's 30 years of abuse from him to me. But me and this guy, we go back a long way. We've done a lot of stuff together. We started this hot sauce business, which kind of Wow, okay, that wasn't a clue right there, D. You might be looking for another job after that one. That didn't fit. So we start the hot sauce business, and then we're doing this, and it all just kind of rolled into one. And whispers in the beginning. He didn't say a lot.
Didn't say much.
He didn't say much. I mean, a lot of people thought he was a mute.
name.
Yeah, that's how he got the nickname America, because I gave him the nickname Whispers because he never says anything. So, but as the show's gone on, he starts to get more comfortable. He would throw little grenades. Remember, we used to say he's going to throw a grenade in the middle of the thing, like the one time when he was talking about Ron Jeremy and hey, nice penis. Who says that?
Just brings the show to a stop, complete stop. We got to clean up the mess.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of sponsors. I was wondering why I was
here most of the time.
We've lost a lot of sponsors because this guy, but we've been able to get him back. Okay, but he brought a different element to the show as far as like his humor, and he's really gotten better as the shows have gone. The Christopher Walken thing is awesome.
Yeah,
that gives him a show. I know the guy's funny. See, America, you may not know Timmy Whispers is funny. Timmy Whispers is funny. He's just not one of these guys that's scripted funny. He's just a guy that he'll say something and you'll just start laughing. So this is the reason why he's on the show. I know a lot of people question that.
Well, it's like the question he asked Will Perdue. I thought this isn't going nowhere, and then Will actually gave you an answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, who knew that?
I mean, no one knew that.
No one did.
I played with the guy. Yeah. I thought he had a broken nose. I thought that's why he did it.
Just a nervous kind of,
But some of the questions that Whispers has come up with that he's really done, digging and finding.
Trey Young still don't like him very much.
No, Trey Young said, "I'll never come back on the show." Stacey,
I might have killed that one.
He's like, Stacey, you my boy. I love
Oklahoma
you.
through and through.
Through. Sooner Nation, but I'm not coming on with Clay Aiken again. So I said, okay, we'll have to talk about that, Clay.
I did write him a note.
Did you?
Yeah, and I put it in the hot sauce. No response. He's probably like,
no, he didn't. He doesn't.
I'm not buying it.
The Chris D. Lofton about sucking on toes and on people's toes. Only Tim could come up with that. So everybody brings a different dynamic to the show. That's what makes it work, and that's what separates us from everybody else. I'm gonna continue to say this. We were at a certain level, America, where we kind of outgrew the fish tank a little bit. Like we got too big for the fish tank. And so we went out to Harper College and we picked up 4 or 5 kids that were in the class. Me and Tim were there doing a special guest appearance, and I was doing via Zoom. And I said, hey, is there any guys that want to work on a podcast? We're looking for guys to come on. And everybody raised their hand. Like every kid in the class raised their hand. Yeah. Well, we kind of handpicked the guys that we wanted, and then the 2 that we wanted, and they said, get this guy. So then we got Maddie, who's our producer right there, who happens to be Tim's lovely niece, who you wouldn't even know they're related to
the Sriracha crew.
Way Tim treats her. Okay, we got Nicky Knuckles here. Okay, I wish y'all come in. Let the people see you, man. It's a 100 show, man. Let everybody see you. Step up and let people see you. Okay.
Well, remember the second question at Harper was, who actually listens to the podcast? And a couple of hands went up. They're like,
yes.
All right, you guys are on board.
So this is Maddie right here, ladies and gentlemen. The beautiful Maddie. She's hiding behind the TV.
She's hiding behind
Come on, there. Come on, Maddie. Step up. There you go. There she is right there.
There's Maddie.
Does a great job for us as our producer. Now, this is Nicky Knuckles right here. He's a part-time comedian that's not funny, but he's trying.
That's quite the selfie here.
There he is right there. And then there goes my man Francisco. And this guy, that's one of my favorite guys right there. There's Dangerous D right there. These 2 guys right here, they speak in Spanish. They don't think I know Spanish, so they speak in Spanish, and they be talking trash in Spanish, Mark. But they didn't know.
We're gonna enter Francisco in a spelling bee next year. I happened to notice on the last graphic he spelled Gimme Gimme.
But I will say this, America. These guys have taken our show to another level. We go from just being in an audio version to now we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch Live. These kids knew exactly what we wanted to do.
It's an experience.
They are tremendous at what they do, and I know they got bright future. TikTok, all the stuff that you old guys like, Tim and Mark don't understand what I do because I'm social media. I'm a social media giant. So I know these things, but these kids have really taken our show to another level, and they have bright futures. And as this show grows, right now, when we pay these guys, they're right here. They're interns, ladies and gentlemen. And, we may not pay them money right now because it's not a sweatshop. But we do pay them with food and water so they can drink water. Angel Water.
Thanks to our sponsor, Angel Water.
And hot sauce.
Yeah.
And hot sauce. They get as much hot sauce as they want when they want. But seriously, America, they're great. These guys have done a tremendous job helping us. And there's some bright things going to happen for these kids. Their future is bright, and I'm looking forward to continue working with these guys. And I forgot my man Matty Ice. I almost forgot Matty Ice. He's the guy in charge of the social media. He's the guy that talks to everybody on Twitch. He's the one that gets all the videos out when we present to the guests coming on. He's the guy. Me and him talk directly. We pick out music. We pick out the music for the guests. He does a tremendous job too. I almost forgot about little Matt back there. I couldn't see him because
he's separated from the main studio.
Yeah, he's
taking care of the Twitch chat.
But he does a great job as well. And like I said, this show wouldn't be where it is today. We wouldn't have got to 100 without these guys as well. So thank you to my Sriracha crew. You guys are awesome. And let's go to another 100, make it 200, and then 200 to 1,000, baby.
And Stacey referenced our good friends at Angel Water. Remember to stay hydrated all year with water you can trust. Angel Water. Call them at 847-382-7800 to get your water tested for free today. We always enjoy this nice, cool, refreshing water here during the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast, so make sure to contact them today, 847-382-7800. And Stacey, I know your driver's outside, and
yes,
he's taking care of us as well.
Shout out to Mike Amaroth right there, okay? This is this guy, again, America. He's not just my bodyguard, he's a friend, okay? And he's been my driver for over a year now, driving me here to the beautiful Sriracha Studios, the Hustle and Flow. We changed from Hustle and Flow, now we're the Sriracha Studios. So shout out to Mike, and he did something special for us today. He brought us a cake from Portillo's. The chocolate
You can't
cake.
Beat that.
You can't.
No.
Listen, it's 100 episodes. He brought us the candles. He brought us a chocolate cake. Oh, Lord.
And during the show, he's listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
watching it.
He always watches the show. He listens to the show. He always comments when I'm going home. And as we're doing this right now, I'm going to shout out to my Windy City Limousine.
Yeah.
It provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy. It's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic to get you to your destination in style and on time.
One of our Twitch chat folks said, not the mayo cake. Mayonnaise?
Okay, you know what? Okay, first of all, America, it's not about. Listen, I wasn't too thrilled about the mayonnaise being in
it
the
looks
cake
nice.
either, but look at that. Look at that. America, look at this.
A Portillo's chocolate cake.
100.
You can't beat that. We
100.
are so happy to be hitting 100 episodes. We've got great things coming in the future. We want to thank all our loyal listeners, all the people who participate in the Twitch chat, everyone who checks out the show visually on YouTube. You've got us to 100 shows, and we are just getting started here on Gimme the Hot Sauce. More great guests coming up as the Bulls get ready for another season that we know is going to be very
I just
exciting.
want to say one thing, Mark. America. It was cold as hell outside today. I just want to throw that out there, okay? I came prepared, okay? I'm walking around here looking like the Snuggle Bear, you know, the Snuggle Softener Bear. I got my blue Snuggie on right now, and I'm burning up like Frosty the Snowman in Vegas at a pool party.
Stacey's going to melt here.
I just want to tell y'all the dedication I have. I almost want to take my shirt off and get naked, but I don't think we need to see that right now. Tim, don't say nothing, boy. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, okay? Because I got the pecs. Don't sleep. I've been working out, but don't sleep.
We do have dude wipes in the kitchen.
Dude wipes. Oh Lord, have mercy. Are they a sponsor?
They will
You never
be
know.
No, we don't have. We don't.
We just got Trojan and Astroglide, so we're good.
Who?
Trojan and Astroglide.
Oh, I thought did you say Astroglide? What did you say?
You know what I'm talking about.
Time to wrap up episode 100 of Gimme the Hot Sauce.
Freak.
We couldn't finish the show without Timmy dragging it down. So 100 episodes are in the books. We start our next 100 next week. Stacey?
Drive home safely, Chicago.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Beep, beep.